So today's video is going to be looking at assessing evidence and then looking at the different options you will have once you've completed that bit. So the first part, we're going to be looking at a successful outcome. So you will receive a notification when a learner has submitted a piece of evidence. There will be a message over on the left hand side and a file will appear in your Files Awaiting Assessment tab here. So what we need to do first is to select which learner we're on and then select the piece of evidence. So we're going to look at AON task 1 first. We're not creating a new visit because the ESQ activity visits are already set up, so select no for this. And we don't have any pre-existing files to add, so select no to this also and press OK. So now we're going to select the correct ESQ activity visit. So we're going to go into this first visit here. Remember to select the date here rather than open visit. Select the date. And here's the piece of evidence you've selected. So you can download that here. And you can then assess the file. Once you've done that, you can press save. And you're into your ESQ activity visit. You can now start to provide some feedback and map the evidence. So what we're going to start with is to provide some feedback in the notes section, and we're going to use review feedback. So in this example, the learner has completed the work and is fine with everything. They're a green learner and they're pretty much ready for assessment. So add in a note here. So you can add a file if you've added any content or any annotations or anything like that, but in this instance it was the AON task 1, which is a Microsoft Forms. So what we do now is to press save, and that will be sent straight to the learner's homepage. So from a learner's perspective, on their homepage they will be able to see in their feedback section the feedback you have just provided. They can select it to go into that notes section as well, and then hopefully they'll carry on with the next task. So once we've given the learner some feedback, we can head to the Tasks tab because we need to sign this task off for the learner. So we head to the More tab and select Tasks. If a learner has mapped the evidence to the task, this will appear in orange. Press Complete. By selecting this, AON task 1 will now be green to show it has been successfully assessed. So once we've done that, we can head to the Evidence tab here. So because it's AON task 1, that is the knowledge check for application of number. So we can apply a template and scroll to AON task 1 there. So no, we do not want to reset any information, so select no there. So this task is linked automatically to the upskilling outcomes. If a learner hasn't met all the criteria, we need to deselect the options appropriately. Remember to press the save button here. If you are not making any changes, if a learner's got 100%, just deselect an option and select it again, and the save button will be available to click. So we've saved their evidence now. We've got that little icon here. And the last thing we need to do in the visit is go into the Edit Appointment page. So now we're in the Edit Appointment page. We need to leave a message so that the TA can read and follow up with the learner of any actions that have been set. So here we have left a little note for the TA. If the upskilling has taken place before reaching the ESQ activity date, the outcome remains empty, as multiple pieces of upskilling can be allowed to one visit. So for example, we are in the middle of February. This visit is planned for the beginning of March. So there is the potential, hopefully, that the learner will complete AON task 2, and therefore that evidence should be placed in this visit before it is completed. When the review takes place on the ESQ activity date, regardless of what has been completed by the learner, leave a comment and set the outcome as complete. So this is what we're doing here. So leave a message depending on what the learner has completed, and select completed and press save. So what we can see here is that this visit has been closed down and that any further information will be placed in the following ESQ activity visit. In this scenario, following the task, the learner will need to be provided with additional upskilling. The learner has done well on the task but needs some support in AON Workshop 3. because they only need support in weight and capacity, we will guide them to the online articulate resources featured on Meta sub-communities. So let's take a look at how we do this. We are going to start with files awaiting assessment. Because the learner has only one file there, we are going to select no to create a new visit and selecting no to add in an additional file. And we are going to select this visit that we are currently on. Remember to select the date. You can download the file here and you can assess that evidence. You can save that information there. And we are back into this visit. So we are going to start with providing the learner with some feedback in the notes section. Again, find yourself into the review feedback. So provide the feedback here. Okay, so because this learner needs a bit more support in capacity and weight, we are giving them some directions to access these resources on communities. We will also be setting them a task just to remind them later on in this process. So we'll save that feedback first, and that will go straight to the learner's homepage like I showed you earlier. So the next thing we need to do is edit the task. So we go to the More tab and press Tasks. Here we can see that AON Task 2 has already been mapped for us, so we need to go in here. Because we are not asking this learner to complete the mock once again, we are going to complete this anyway. So they will see that that has been completed. We will now update the evidence. So again, we've got the learner's file here. You can add a new file if you want. So press Add a new file and select some evidence. Once we've selected that, we can press Upload and we can apply a template. So this is AON Task 2. So apply that. We're not changing anything of previous evidence. So we've selected that. So you can make any changes here and press Save. So now we have updated the evidence, we can go back to the appointment. So here we are just giving the TA a little bit of information of what we have set the learner to do. And because this is now at the end of the month, we'll select visit as completed and press Save. But remember, we need to set them an additional task because they need further upskilling. We're not asking them to redo the MCQ, we are asking them to complete a further task. So if we head into Manage Tasks, press Manage Tasks again, and remember it is the AON workshops that we're looking at for the online resources, and it was AON Workshop 3. So select the button, give them the correct start date, start them off early March, and give them 15 days. Once that is done, we can press Save, and we can head back to the summary page now to see that change. So here we can see that the learner has now got AON Workshop 3 to complete. So in this scenario, we will be assessing a task and the learner will need some synchronous additional work. So that means they need to come into a workshop and do some upskilling with a tutor. So again, we need to go through the evidence wizard. So go down to the Awaiting Assessment tab. Press Assess. We are not creating a new visit because again we are going into one of the ESQ activity visits that are already set up, and we do not need to add an additional file. Press OK. Okay, because these two visits are complete, we now need to go into this next visit. So select the date and download the file. So here you will assess the file. Now that's set up, we can press Save. In the notes section, we need to provide feedback to the learner using the review feedback. So we've given some feedback to the learner after completing Comms Task 2. And we can see from assessing the file that they need further support in Comms Workshop 1. So here's an example. They've made a few errors in the types of document, as well as the document's main points, and then looking at inferring a meaning and format and structure as well. So there's quite a few aspects to Workshop 1 that this learner needs support in. So I'll press Save to that feedback there, so that goes straight to the learner. The next thing we need to do is go to the Tasks tab, and that's mapped already for us, so we press Complete for that, because we're not asking them to complete another MCQ. We are now going to head to the Evidence tab. So update the evidence and uncheck the ones that are completed. But there, we're also going to add another piece of evidence from the MCQ results and upload that. So apply the template again. So looking at the criteria, we can check or uncheck any of those if required. So I'm happy with that, and I'm going to press save. The final thing to do here in this visit is to update the TA. So once we've updated the TA, we can press save. And we're not changing the outcome at the moment because we're still in the middle of the month. So if we head back to the learner summary page now, we can give them an additional task. So this additional task will be for the learner to attend one of the workshops. So instead of using one of these tasks, we are now going to be using one of the TSWA workshop tasks, because that means that they've got to attend a workshop with one of the tutors. And in this instance, the learner is doing Comms Workshop 1. So we select that task there, provide a start date, and provide a target date for this learner to book on to the session. So I'm going to give them until the end of the month to do that, and then press save. So what we can see here is that the learner needs to complete some online upskilling using the community resources on MetaSub for application and number, and they need to book on to a TSW workshop day for Comms Workshop 1.